Okay, let's see how fast I can speedrun talking about 11 stages so the file size isn't enormous. Okay, so the Great One made a bunch of Street Fighter 1 stages. I downloaded them all like years ago. I remember thinking at the time that they were the best ones out there, but they were full of problems. So that might not be true, but I edited all 11. I'll go through them real quick. If I remember what I did, I'll tell you about it because there's a lot. Okay, I think I just toned down the deltas on this one. Most of these stages, if you jump, they broke before. Like if you jump, like some background element would pull up so hard that you'd see void behind it or void between the layers. Yeah, this is another one that, like, if you jump, this building in the background would be revealed that it was clipped off. And, like, the sky, you'd see the big black hole in the void as soon as you jumped. So I fixed most of those. Also, the delta on this building was, like, way too high. It was, like, bigger than the floor, so it was going way too fast and, like, in the wrong direction. So that's for the issues in this one that I remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I can't remember if there was bound right and bound left problems on every single one. I think this is another one you jumped, you could see the top of this building was clipped off, so I trimmed the bound high down. Oh yeah, a lot of the art was clipped off because of how, like, you couldn't see a lot of these buildings and stuff the way it was before. The original game, like, is pretty tight, and so I can't get a happy medium with deltas and every background element, because to have the deltas you need to do this to move left and right, you're going to miss some art, unfortunately. So yeah, there's going to be like a sacrifice between the foreground art and the background art in these stages. But yeah, just changed about the deltas to look a little better in this one that I remember off the top of my head. Okay, another thing I remember in this one was this pagoda was down a little more, so I brought it up. It was also connected to this mountain over here, which I think the Great One thought was a tree, because like he had it jumped up and it has like sort of an undergroundness to it. But I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a mountain in the distance, so it moves on a delta that's further back than this pagoda. I had to separate them into two images. Also, this ridge right here, you could see a bunch of holes in these leaves, so it was very clear that the ridge didn't exist behind these leaves. So I like plugged up a little of like the sprite to hide that fact. So that's some changes off the top of my head. I remember this one. Some of the art here in the foreground was definitely flipped off, like you couldn't see as much as the boat, or a little bit to the right of this, or left of this tree. Remember that. I don't remember how bad the deltas were messed up in this one. I don't think they were that bad when you jumped up compared to the others, but moving on. Okay, so he had some like really like intense deltas on these pillars, but since the background doesn't move behind it, it just looked really funky, so I toned that down a lot, but not completely. There was also this like black spot over here in front of this pillar, and since this is practically like mirrored, I fixed it to like match the color of its mirrored copy over here. But more importantly, the top of this palm tree didn't exist, so I altered the art of the palm tree to be sort of more bent on this prong, so it's less noticeable that it was clipped off art. So this has been changed to hide the art mistake. But I don't think that's necessarily a mistake on the Great One's part. I think the top of that palm tree doesn't exist, period. Street Fighter 1 is actually a pretty zoomed-in game, so I don't think like you actually would see as much sky as you're seeing now in any of these stages. This is another one where you jump, the stage will completely break. Like, you can see under this voodoo statue is completely clipped off, and you can see the sky pulling up. Yeah, it was just totally broken, so I fixed all that up. I think that's mainly it. The Delta issues that were in this one. Okay, he had the deltas in his background, like, so that when you jumped up, like, one of the backgrounds was moving down and the other background was moving up, which was pretty, weird looking, so that's all fixed. It's all just, like, I think a little bit tightened up, too, like, it's just not moving as much, and the deltas are, like, moving, like, this looks like it's more better at moving left and right, because it's mostly further in the distance than it did before. Yeah, he had one of these train deltas set weird, so like, this is another one where we had the backgrounds moving in opposite directions, so like, this train was going left and the background was going right, and so it looked like this train was just rolling to the left, since like the effect was broken. Also, when you jumped before, these buildings pulled up too hard and you could see that the art was clipped off behind there. So Joe and Ken's stage are pretty similar. Yeah, this is the last one. Yeah, it's pretty similar to Joe's stage. Okay, one last thing before I like stop the video. I included music tracks from like I think the TurboGrafx 16 version of the game, which has better music. So like all the tracks are fairly accurate, but they sound much more pleasing on the ears. It's also why this file size is going to be like a decent chunk. You could just get it from my video instead of like Mugen Archive if you're worried about your like daily limit from Mugen Archive. But yeah, that's 11 stages from Street Fighter 1 by the Great One.